Gambia24 with me, Sohna Tunkara. Let's take a look at our news bulletin. Gambia Press Union Award Committee reveals shortlisted nominees for 2020. National coach releases final squad for the Scorpions training camp in Portugal. UDP supporter blames President Barrow for the failure of commissions. These and more coming up on Gambia24. Stay tuned. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. And now onto our main stories. The Committee for the National Journalism Award on Thursday unveiled the list of nominees in various categories ahead of the National Journalism Awards. This year's award will for the first time be held virtually due to the coronavirus pandemic. Let's more of that in this report. A total of 188 journalists submitted entries in 13 categories for the 5th edition of the National Journalism Awards, which is organized by the Gambia Press Union. The award honors and recognizes hard-working journalists for their outstanding performances in the stories they report on and their contribution towards national development. Lamin Jaite, a member of the awards committee, said it is important to recognize the work of journalists.
Also, journalists, even during this period, it is made much more vivid, the role that we play. A lot of people are away in their homes and sitting down and watching. But the journalists are the ones who go out in the field and bring us those stories for us to enjoy reading or hearing on our radio stations or watching. So the hard work that they do has to be recognized. And also, I mean, journalism adds value to democracy. And these are some of the reasons why it is important that at least at the end of the day, we give each other a tap on the back to say, well done, your story is great. You've done this, you've gone an extra mile to bring this to the people.
Umiso, a reporter at the Fatu Network, is part of the nominees. She said she is excited that her work is recognized.
This infection. This being my first time, I feel so happy and proud of myself. At first, I really didn't want to apply. This is my second year of being a journalist, and I said to myself, I have my senior colleagues who are more experienced than I am. But on the second thought, I gave it a try, and here we are. So I am urging journalists out there, especially the young ones, to submit their work whenever the awards is on. And for me, winning this award really doesn't matter. What matters is my work has been recognized, and this means a lot to me. And to all journalists out there, let us concentrate more on human interest stories. This is what makes us a journalist. Of course, seminar, conference, and the like are news related, but reporting about things that is affecting our society, so for people to see and learn from it is really what matters.
Despite the funds received by the EU to facilitate the award, Jada said funding remains a major challenge. He said the impact of COVID-19 may have limited the spending capacity of some institutions.
The other challenge that we have right now, like everybody else, like funding, because some of these activities that we're doing, like giving people trophies and prizes, we don't have it. We go out cap in hand to people to say, oh, institutions help us, say thank you to our journalists. So because of the situation, economically, most businesses are not very, they're not viable at the moment. They're not having a lot of profit because of the footfall has gone down, and they're not having much profit. And some of the institutions that have planned something have cancelled most of their commitments. So it's difficult to get funding.
The Gambia Press Union's National Journalism Award is increasingly becoming popular, with the competition on quality journalism getting higher every year. The 2020 awards will be televised on different media outlets and on social media on October 24th. For iAfrica TV, Sohna Tunkara. A nominee for the 2020 awards urges journalists to work on more human interest stories. Now let's head to the CRC, where the chairman described critics who claim that the draft constitution is plagiarized as merely stoking emotions to back up their rejections of the draft bill. He told a press conference on Thursday that constitutions all over the world draw inspiration from other constitutions because they are not copyrighted. More of that in this report.
The lead draftsman said the Gambia's Constitutional Review Commission has not blindly adopted or adapted constitutional provisions from elsewhere after the draft rejecting lawmakers accused the commission of plagiarism. Justice Cherno Suleiman Jallo said the commission thoroughly reviewed and applied them in line with the Gambia's national circumstances, especially with regard to the opinions expressed by the populace during their consultations.
It is unfortunate that a tiny minority of critics have leveled the claim that the draft constitution was plagiarized. The CRC, with its team of experienced draftspersons and international consultants and drafters, has not given any credence to such claims and essentially viewed the claims as merely stoking emotions to back up the critics' rejection of the draft constitution. Indeed, there have been those that never said anything good of the CRC from the time of its inception. For them, it was personal.
The draft constitution has been hailed by many as representing the wishes and aspirations of the Gambian people, but some lawmakers claim that the bill was plagiarized from Kenya's 2010 constitution, as they voted against the draft. However, Justice Jallo said international experts on constitutional law advise reliance on best constitutional models for the development of new constitutions.
It is perfectly acceptable and indeed encouraged in the legislative drafting world that drafters of laws may draw inspiration from other written laws by adopting specific provisions thereof or adapting such provisions to special circumstances. This is not controversial, well, except in the Gambia. One only has to review various Commonwealth countries to see evidence of adoptions or adaptation.
The CRC chair stated that the constitutional history of the Gambia shows that the 1970 constitution drew a lot of inspiration from the Jamaican constitution of 1962, which it adapted.
The 11 chapters of the 1970 constitution are essentially the same as those of the 10 chapters of the Jamaican constitution. Similarly, chapter 3 of the 1970 constitution was adapted from chapter 3 of the Jamaican constitution. The minor differences are in the areas of protection of persons detained during a period of public emergency, which the Jamaican constitution did not have. Similarly, the Jamaican constitution had no provision on prohibition of slavery and forced labor, which the 1970 constitution adapted from the European Convention on Human Rights. In a similar vein, the 1997 constitution of the Republic of the Gambia that governs us now drew enormous inspiration from the Constitution of Ghana. That is constitution building. Trying to denigrate the toil and hard work of the CRC on this issue has been most unfortunate.
The chair of the Constitutional Review Commission added that there is a lot of harmonization of laws in the European Union, the Caribbean Community and Eastern Caribbean states. Therefore, the Gambia should not be left behind in that journey for the sake of sensationalism. For iAfrica News, I am Julden Suare.
While reaction on the rejected draft constitution still continues, now in the sport world, the national team coach Tom Senfried has released the final squad for the Scorpions training camp in Agave, Portugal, from the 5th to the 13th of October. The Belgian coach previously announced a 40-man provisional squad 2 weeks ago, but he has now trimmed the team to 25 for the 10 days training camp ahead of the 2 international friendlies. Ibrahim Kebe Sonko takes us through.
The Gambia will play against Congo-Brazzaville on the 9th and against Guinea on the 13th in Algarve, Portugal's southern region, which is known for its Atlantic beaches and golf resorts. The 2 international friendlies are to serve as warm-up ahead of the double encounter with Gabon in November in qualifiers for the next Africa Cup of Nations, which is to be played in Cameroon. Gambian duo Ibu Adams and Ibu Toure, who are playing in League One in England, have opted to stay with their clubs instead of returning to national duties after a few caps. Former Gamtel FC sensational striker and informed CSKA Sofia striker Ali Sow is not included in Tom Senfried's final 25-man squad. Meanwhile, Combo North-born duo of Sieninjai and Musa Juara have their first senior call-up to the Gambia national team. Finland-based goalkeeper Salif Senghor, Noah Sonko, Robin Jata, Mado Jaju Chuka, and Ablai Sanyang are the new inclusions who will be hoping to earn their first international cap for the Gambia. According to the Gambia Football Federation, the following players will not be available: Kodi Drame, Lamin Jallo, Alassane Jata, Modu Baro, Ablai Jallo, Ibu Adams, Yusfa Bob, and Siri Janko. Their absence is due to family issues, injuries, moves to new clubs, COVID quarantine travel issues, preferring clubs ahead of national team, and document issues. Gambia is currently on top of Group D in the AFCON qualifiers with 4 points, after a brilliant 3-1 win against Angola and a scintillating 3-all draw against DR Congo. The Gambia will lock horns with Gabon in November in what is promised to be a pulsating encounter. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I'm Ibrahim Kebi Sonko.
From that report by Ibrahim Kebi Sonko, land disputes in communities are increasingly becoming a major problem in the Gambia. Families and relatives have become enemies without their communities due to land conflicts. However, the Ministry of Lands is making efforts to ease the problem, according to Information Minister Ibrahim Silla. iAfrica TV's Fatoumata Kasim reports.
However, the Minister of Information, Ibrahim Silla, said the Ministry of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs is currently working to address the problem of land and natural resources conflict. Silla told journalists during his weekly briefing on Friday that the Ministry of Lands is currently working on developing a legal database for land ownership as part of the solution being devised.
As part of efforts to combat land-related disputes in the country, the Ministry of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs is currently working on the development of a systematic cadastral mapping system for the Gambia. Cadastral mapping is an information system and legal database for land ownership and usage in a given country. Extensive progress has been made so far, and when finalized, the new system will ameliorate land and natural resources conflicts in the Gambia.
Minister Silla said while plans have been worked on for the introduction of the systematic mapping of land ownership, the Ministry of Lands is currently using a GPS coordinate system as a short-term measure to minimize land-related conflicts.
The short-term measure allows each parcel of land to be geo-referenced using its coordinates as a unique identifier of a precise geographic location of a land within a particular area. This upgrade will effectively help the ministry mitigate incidents of leasing one parcel of customary land to multiple users.
Issues relating to land ownership in the Gambia escalated in the last decade, especially within the Greater Banjul area and the West Coast region. The dispute, which had led to the loss of some lives, are mainly as a result of an increase in the urban demographic and an upsurge in property values. Fatoumata Kasim, reporting for iAfrica TV.
Land ownership is becoming a major problem in the Gambia, but the Ministry of Lands is putting in efforts to solve the problem, according to Minister Silla. Now, moving on, Gambians have got to come to grips with the fact that the draft constitution was rejected by the National Assembly, as both sides of the divide blames each other for its failure. An opposition supporter has, however, narrowed it down to being a part of simultaneous failure of the Barrow government as the transitional process stalled.
A series of commissions were established by the Barrow government as part of the Gambia's transitional program following the end of a 22-year dictatorship. Among them, a commission to investigate Yaya Jammeh's financial dealings, a truth commission, and a constitutional review commission. While the commission's new draft constitution was one of the most awaited outcomes, the new supreme law was blocked by President Barrow's supporters at the National Assembly on September 22nd. Nyawur Koma, opposition UDP youth chairman in the Kanifing municipality, said the rejection of the draft constitution caps an era of simultaneous failures of the Barrow government on the establishment of commissions. The Barrow government did not make through with any of the commissions established under his regime, Koma told iAfrica Good Morning Africa program.
Faraba Commission failed. Haruna Jammeh probe failed. CRC failed. TRRC is ongoing but no hope and is leading to failure. I'm coming. I'm not done.
But you cannot say this.
The golden lead versus the government of the Gambia case failed. The gun importation by Abubakar Jawara under the carpet. The drug case at the port under the carpet. The Senegalese diplomat raping Gambian girls under the carpet. What, you know how many under the carpet we have?
How about it?
The chairperson of the Constitutional Review Commission, Justice General Suleiman Jallow, told journalists on Thursday that the rejection of the draft Constitution Promulgation Bill 2020 does not mean that it is dead. Mr. Koma agrees, accusing the president of being responsible for the National Assembly's failure to vote the draft constitution to move to the third reading stage.
It's not dead, but it's in a deep coma.
How can you? What's the difference?
Life support. Deep coma. Life support. Whenever those ventilators are taken out from the system, you go off. That means that you are alive, but with the support of a machine. So the constitution is now on life support, intensive care, and in deep coma, courtesy of Adam Waro Amadba and his people.
You are a legend.
The Constitutional Review Commission was established by an Act of Parliament to review the Jammeh-era 1997 Constitution and come up with a new supreme law for the country. However, parliamentarians rejected the draft in its second reading stage after allies of President Barrow voted against a term limit proposal that was to include his first term retroactively. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
On September 17, President Barrow told National Assembly in his State of the Nation address that the Gambia has registered success in fisheries as the sector created employment for more than 100,000 youths and raked in nearly $200,000 million. However, Halifa Sallah said the Gambia's gain from the fisheries sector is equal to pensions.
In an annual address to the nation, President Adam Barrow said the Gambia earned more than $178 million from the EU-Gambia Sustainable Fisheries Partnership Agreement, fishing licenses, fines, and fish landings. He said the sector also created over 1,000 jobs for Gambian youth, mainly as fisheries observers and deck hands on board industrial fishing vessels. The financial figure appears to be huge in local currency terms, but it represents less than $4 million at current exchange rates. The National Assembly member for Serekunda, Halifa Sallah, said the Gambia is earning nothing from its ozone.
We should lay a condition that even those we grant license, unless you employ 60% of our population, we will not grant you license. Who stops us from having that? And we can even have better than that. I'm just making generalization. You can condition them that this amount must be landed here before we grant you license.
The foreign companies doing fishing in the Gambia employ a relatively small number of youth, and they don't land their catch here in the country. With most of them being European and Chinese vessels, they were said to be depleting Gambia's fish stock, with the country gaining very little in return, save the taxes they pay to the government. But what does Halifa Sallah think should be done to address these problems?
How many millions? You think that when you talk about millions in Gambian dollars, I don't know. Million in Gambian dollars is nothing. It's pittance. We are earning nothing from our ocean, and our people are suffering. And we could have ensured that these associations of artisanal fishers will be actually put together, strengthened. The Maritime Association built up, the institute built up, linked to our education system as technical and vocational training to ensure that those are the people who will be employed.
In 2018, the Gambia signed what it called a Sustainable Fishing Partnership Agreement with the European Union spanning over a 6-year period in which EU vessels will fish 3,300 tons of tuna and tuna-like species, as well as 750 tons of hake per year. In return, the EU will give Gambia 900,000 euros annually, while ship owners will contribute 360,000 euros annually. Today, 90% of fishing vessels legally operating in the Gambian waters are foreign-based. For iAfrica TV, I am Omar Ahmad Toure.
The president said the fisheries sector created employment for 10,000 youths instead of 100,000. Well, with that brings this edition of Gambia 24 to an end with me, Sohna Tunkara. Good evening and bye for now.